Love and peace. I want to share with you a portion of this text. Each and every segment of this collection of essays from Carl Gustav Jung, nearly a century ago, enlightens me so much. It lays out different layers of meaning and so interesting and significant. Let's read it. Don't mind my I got a bad cold. How totally different did the world appear to the medieval man. For him, the earth was eternally fixed, and the rest in the center of the universe, encircled by the course of a sun that solicitously bestowed its warmth. How different was the world to a medieval man. Men were all children of God, under the loving care of the Most High, who prepared them for eternal blessedness, and all knew exactly what they should do and how they should conduct themselves in order to rise from a corruptible world to an incorruptible and joyous existence. Such a life no longer seems real to us, modern men, even in our dreams. Natural science has long ago torn this lovely veil to shreds. That age lies as far behind as child. Look at this passage, so significant, so restoring our knowledge. When one's own father was unquestionably the handsomest and strongest man on earth. In our childhood, we we believe so that our father and mothers, especially our father, the father figure, is the handsomest and strongest, is the most important figure, is something like a hero of us. That time, the medieval man thought that God was his aspiration, he knew what to do. The modern man has lost all the metaphysical certainties of his medieval brother and set up in their place the ideals of material security, house, properties, goods, general welfare, and humanness. Okay, but takes more than an ordinary dose of optimism to make he's talking about the optimist of um, Enlightenment movements of 18th and 19th century, the positivism. But it takes more than ordinary dose of optimism to make it appear that these ideals are still unshaken. Material security, even, has gone by the board for the modern man. Is now referring to the Great War, World War First. Begins to see that every step in material progress adds just so much force to the threat of a more stupendous catastrophe. The very picture terrorized the imagination. We want more, but we know if we get more technology, is referring to this, if I think. If we look for more, if you want to have more material security, if you want to have more well-being, if you want to have more wealth, we need to also take care of what comes, the compensatory, what comes with that, no? What comes with that, it means the aspiration, the ambition, the greed of man. What are we to imagine when cities today perfect measures of defense against poison gas attacks and practice them in dress rehearsal? We cannot but suppose that such attacks have been planned and provided for, again, on the principle in time of peace prepared for war. Mm? Keep shedding mucus. Let man but accumulate these materials of distraction, and the devil within him will soon be unable to resist putting them to their fated use. If you accumulate weapons, don't you think you're gonna use it? Be you're gonna be using them by force, by internal force. It's not because you are mad, it's just because you created that, you accumulated those weapons and you're gonna use them one day, sooner or later. will be obliged for some feelings, because inside the human there is unconscious, and inside the unconscious there is our primitive side, our animal side, and we need to balance those sides in our brain, but in our unconscious, in our mind. It is well known that firearms go off of themselves if only enough of them are together. Firearms go off together by themselves if enough of them are together. An intimation of the law that governs blind contingency, which Heraclitus called the rule of enantiodromia, conversion into the opposite. You want a peace, first you need to get a war. And in time of war, you look for peace. When you dream of something, you need to be careful also of the opposite that comes first. Now steals upon the modern man through the byways of his mind, chilling him with fear and paralyzing his faith in the lasting effectiveness of social and political measures in the face of these monstrous I'm dropping mucus on the monstrous forces. If it turns the monstrous forces that gave away to the World War First, the Second World War first, second, and they're gonna come next to the Third World War, with Chinese greed and possession and childness mind, no, to conquer the world, to best others countries. If he turns away from the he wrote this in 1935. Look how precautionist, how precursory, how pioneering, and how enlightening is this text. If he turns away from the terrifying prospect of a blind world in which building and destroying successively tip the scale, and if he then turns his gaze inwards upon the recesses of his own mind, he will discover a chaos and a darkness there which he would gladly ignore. Science has destroyed even the refugee of the inner life. What was once a sheltering heaven has become a place of terror. Thought is talking about our brain, our mind, our soul, and our inner feelings. As archaic man in Roman time, in ancient time, was a place of peace. We believed in gods, we believed in our ancestors, like Vietnamese do, still do. We believe in collective thoughts. We became a supernatural power. So we used to fear outer world, not the inner world. Now the place of terror has become our mind, our human monstrous powers and energies. And yet it is almost a relief for us to come upon so much evil in the depths of our own minds. We are able to believe at least that we have discovered the root of the evil in mankind. Look now, he makes an example. It looks like he's talking about Hitler, he's looking about a dictator, he's talking about Stalin. And he didn't know them. They were not born yet. Oh, actually, they were born, but they were still kids when he's talking. Even though we are shocked and disillusioned at first, we yet feel because these things are manifestation of our own minds, that we hold them more or less in our own hands and can therefore correct or at least effectively suppress them. We like to assume that if we succeeded in this, no, if we succeeded in suppressing our own impulse, our own stronger inputs, our own fears and will to violate, to use violence on others, we would be okay, we would be fine. We like to correct or at least effectively suppress that. We like to assume that if we succeed in this, we should have rooted our some fraction of the evil in the world. We should have cut some part of our own evil and the future evil we're gonna cause to the world. We like to think that on the basis of a widespread knowledge of the unconscious and his ways. No one could be deceived by statesmen. These are the example I'm giving you. A statesman who was unaware of his own bad motives. The very newspapers will pull him up and say, please have yourself analyzed, go to a psychiatrist, go to a psychologist. You are suffering from a repressed father complex. You are reflected from narcissist complex. You are repressed from you got some trauma. Let's go to heal yourself. They do it now. That is just a hope. A statesman will do that. I have purposely that people will stare at him. People will have the power to say, go to a doctor and see yourself. I have purposely chose this grotesque example to show to what absurdities we are led by the illusion that because something is psychic, it is under our control. Because something is here and not in our hands. Because something is here, we can control it. It is, however, true that much of the evil in the world is due to the fact that man in general is hopelessly unconscious. Without hope, unconscious. We cannot control it. We don't know when it comes, where it goes. We don't know what we will do because there's a inside us something else. The stronger part of us is the unconscious. We spend half of our life unconscious in the bed, no sleeping. Remember that, and the unconscious, nobody can control it. He asks for revenge, the unconscious. Um, as it is also true that with increasing insight we can combat this evil as it soars in ourselves, with doctors and specialists. As science enables us to deal with injuries inflicted from without, so it helps us to treat those arising from within. The rapid and worldwide growth of a psychological interest over the last 2 decades, he's talking about 1920s, 1930s, long time ago, or nearly 100 years ago, a century ago, shown unmistakably that modern man has to some extent turned his attention from material things to his own subjective processes. Should we call this mere curiosity? Art has a very way of anticipating future changes in our mind and ways and action of thinking about the world, on man's fundamental outlook. And expressionist is talking about the art expressionist, long time ago. Art has taken this subjective turn well in advance of the more general change. The psychological interest of the present time shows that man expects something from psychic life which he has not received from the outer world. The man of the past didn't need to look up inside him. He could believe in souls, ghosts, and think outside. As well as Vietnamese men, they believe in a hero, in the party leaders, in something that is supernatural. Something which our religions, our ideals, our utopias doubtless ought to contain, but we're talking about the Western man, no longer do contain in the Western civilization, at least for the modern man. The various forms of religion no longer appear to the modern man to come from within, to be expression of his own psychic life. They went over beyond. No, we now know that religion cannot solve our inner issues because we don't believe in gods and religions anymore. They are too, for him, at least the Western civilization, I'm talking about with we. The Asians still have the archaic mindset that believes that doesn't have doubts. The doubts are coming from the Western world to him. Is vouchsafed to no revelation of spirit that is not of this world, but he tries on a number of religion and convention as if they were standardized, talking about the Gnosticism in Germany, the Theosophy movement, Anthroposophy, the Hindu believes, Kundalini Yoga believes that came in being um, a trend, no, something famous stuff in before the Second World War in early 40s, and after the World War II, 2050. The passionate interest in these movements arises undoubtedly from psychic energy, which can no longer be invested in obsolete forms of religion, like it used to be.